Morning, Larry Adams here, Channel FSR, Central Illinois. Joined again today with Matt Bennett. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been together, Matt. My area is kind of up and down with progress of planting. We've seen some replant issues from different planting dates. We went from one extreme of worried about some corn making it up, and then we got a rain, and then we got too much rain and drowned some other stuff out. So we're seeing a lot of different steps or stages of planting again. We're getting almost close to 2 months of planting, to believe that or not. So that's what I'm kind of seeing across Central Illinois and the guys I've been talking to. What are you seeing in your local area?
Yeah, I mean, in my area, it's very similar. Our territories are pretty close. In my part of the world, those guys that planted the 11th, 12th, and 13th of May are running into some issues on emergence, it seems. We did some of that ourselves. And so we did get a little bit of a shower where we planted last night, thank God, because the ground got kind of hard on us, with all this heat we've had lately. Actually, that part of my farming operation missed the weekend rains. And so, the ground is starting to get a little hard on us with all that sun and all the heat. So, I would say that there's several producers that would like to be running right now. They just can't, So I live a mile south and east of my dad, and he had 1.2 inches on Saturday. I had 2.4.
Wow.
A mile or two north, and they had 3 to 4 inches. And so, and then you go over to Shelbyville, which is 10 miles from my house, and they were spraying beans on Memorial Day, So it's just a totally different, depending on where you were standing, a totally different pattern. But there's no doubt it's been a little bit more of a struggle, especially when you compare to, for instance, guys in Iowa and Nebraska that I've conversed with that said, they were super dry and then they were blessed with a really nice rain over the weekend. I'm happy for them. But we've had a little more stress here in Central Illinois once again this year, I think, than the average producer.
Yeah, so like I said, we've been planning for 2 months now, so kind of seeing some erratic and crazy things going on. So last couple of weeks, like I said, since I've been with you, what have we seen with the markets? What do we see? Are we just kind of waiting here now to our next report, or what's your thoughts right now with the markets?
Markets will put you to sleep most days. They really haven't moved much. There really hasn't been a lot going on. The big news, of course, to start the week yesterday was planting progress. High 80s, I think 88% on corn, mid 60s on soybeans. So we've got a lot done. But you've got to remember, you've got areas like, for instance, in North Dakota that are super wet, and their insurance date was May 25th. And so with the prices where they're at this year, it's probably, not near as easy to make those decisions as far as pushing acreage, maybe super late in the year. Because we know last year, a lot of folks planted really late in June, but we also had corn over 450 a bushel. So we've just got a little bit different setup this year. So you would have to think that 97 million acres that was in the planting intentions might be on the high side.
Yeah.
Given what we're seeing, especially having some stress come in this spring. So I think your two main problem areas, if we're honest about it, are going to be North Dakota and parts of Illinois. I do know some of my clients in Ohio, have had a lot of rain as well. And so there are some areas that I think are going to be a bit of a struggle, but the markets really haven't reacted a whole lot to them. And you really wouldn't expect them to after us being able to raise the kind of crop we raised last year with just a horrific spring.
Right. So you brought up North Dakota. And I actually read something today also myself about maybe not many corn acres. How many corn acres? I mean, that's not really a big state really anyway for huge production for us. But I mean, is that 1 million acres, or what's your thoughts on something like that?
Most of the estimates that I've seen on loss of corn acres out of North Dakota have been close to the 2 million acre range. And so, I've heard people estimate more than that. It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, harvest isn't finished there everywhere. So it's really been a struggle. I saw that, one of the people I follow does like a crop watch thing, and one of their producers actually was trying to plant beans yesterday and got stuck. And so, it's just a challenge. I don't envy those guys one bit. Those guys and gals are struggling. Once again, they had a rough go last year, and then they're having a rough go again this year. So I do think that could impact the market at some point. But also whenever we get into that planted acreage report, they're going to ask how many acres are you intending on planting, or how many acres got planted. It's kind of confusing because then later in the year you get the preventative plant numbers, and that's going to end up, taken away from what your planted acreage is. I expect us to come in maybe around 95 million acres. That's still more than enough acres considering the corn we've got sitting around. But there's been some really good things going on as far as demand. Ethanol this past week, we ground, 15 million more bushels than what we did just 3 weeks ago.
Awesome.
So I remember that we talked about, the fact we thought it might be the low as far as ethanol grind, and that it was. The only reason why I kind of felt strongly about that is that we heard about a half dozen plants that were coming back online. And so we've been hearing that every week. It's a really good thing that we're able to start grinding through a little bit more corn. Livestock numbers are still plenty strong that we're chewing away through some corn. So really got to hope that these low prices are going to cure the low prices.
Sure. Yeah, you just brought up the ethanol thing too. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. You touched base on it. But is the crude still affecting anything we're doing, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the nice thing about crude is that, we obviously went into negative territory, but,
right.
The future months actually got down into the $15, $14, $13 range, almost down to $10 on June. Okay. And then when June went off the board, we're over $30. And so you've seen a nice little resurgence there. And the other thing we've seen is with ethanol, like you referenced, we've seen some profit margins start to come back in. And so that's part of the reason that some of these folks are coming back online. A lot of times they'll do a summer shutdown to do maintenance and normal maintenance work that they do. They might be shut down for a week or two. I think that a lot of them decided to do that a little earlier this year, just simply due to the fact that they were going to struggle with margins. But hearing about some basis pushes again, so that's something that you really want to see if you're a producer, especially with all the old corn we've got sitting around.
Sure. So do you see any, other outside influences, anybody else purchasing any of our grain right now that could help stimulate any more little rallies or anything?
I guess my personal opinion is that this is the time of year when you typically see a rally. The next 10 weeks, that's when you usually see a rally. The seasonality of corn and soybean prices typically are going to show you some sort of life. Are we going to get some weather premium put into this market? And I would assume that we're going to.
Sure.
I don't really know how much, first of all. And second of all, we got to always remember from where it was that we came from. And that's why I really want to harp on knowing your break even, what your profitability is today. What it might be with a 20, 30, 40 cent rally, because I do think that we're going to get some strength in here. I think we've got a really good chance if history repeats itself that we'll get some sort of strength. It's just, I don't know how much, and we've got to be ready to do something with it when it happens.
So what's one strategy that you would, some of your clients you're talking with, what's one strategy you can, it's an easy strategy, so to say, what's one that you can give them or giving them right now? In
simplistic form, having offers in place ahead of time. If I know that I want to sell some corn, if we get back to 360 D's corn, have the offer in, just go ahead and put it in place, figure out what that is for you for a cash price, and get the offer in place. I know that everyone's got different risk tolerances. There's a lot of different things you can do in the market, but plain and simple, do something, step in there, put an offer in place. If you want to, you can always do something from the risk management side, whether you're buying calls, things like that.
Yep.
You can do stuff like that really makes a lot of sense. It's just a matter of knowing what your risk tolerance is and being proactive whenever you get the opportunity.
Because like you said, there are some days in 360, but all of a sudden it's going to go to 380 and I missed that other 20 cents. And so there's guys that's the mentality. It's like, oh, the 360 is great, but then all of a sudden now I missed their 20 cents those bushels.
Absolutely. And so if you put calls in place when the market's deader than a doornail,
which it is.
And you just say, well, I'm willing to throw 5 or 10 cents at this thing, and it's going to be part of my marketing strategy. When the market rallies, I feel comfortable making a sale because I've already got that call in place. If it goes up another 20 cents, I'm going to actually get something out of that. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. It's just a matter of knowing how you want to approach it, first of all, and then doing something with it whenever you get the opportunity.
Fair. A lot of guys out there, which they don't like to admit right now, have stole some old corn. What do you do? What do you do when things are come due? And so, bills come due that, hey, I need some money. And all of a sudden they just basically have to give in and say, take what they get. Right.
Right.
What's one thing that they can,
you're entering a precarious time of the marketing year.
Yep.
The long and short of it is this. Sometime between now and September 1st, there's a lot of corn that's going to hit the market. I mean, just a lot of corn that's going to hit the market. So if I'm a producer, I've got to understand, what my A game plan is. My plan A.
Yep.
I have to have a plan B. Things don't work out so well. I don't get the rally that I was hoping to get. What's the point where I have a stop in place, if you will?
Yep.
Tell the elevator, look, if we go back down to whatever it is, 320, 315, I'm just not going to mess with this anymore. And so the bottom line I want to shop around a little bit, especially some of these plants come back online. The river basis has actually been pretty good, and it's because the export program's been good. I want to shop around. I want to look around, throw some bids out there. It never hurts to ask. Some of your grain buyers might be really glad that you actually threw that bid out there to them, because I have heard several producers in the last week that have gotten a push above the posted bid at certain processors, and that's a really good thing to hear.
That is good. That is good. Well, Matt, thanks for your time today. Again, how can people get a hold of you to ask questions, or what's the best way to interact with somebody with you?
Yeah, I mean, the best way is just at Chief321 on Twitter. That's where people have been getting a hold of me, asking questions, and direct message, or just, tag me in something and we'll get together.
Great. And they also could touch base with me at Ag Adams 99. So, Matthew, I appreciate your time today and look forward to the next time we get together.
Absolutely. Thanks.